Ladies and gentlemen, darts referee Owen Binks here. I just wanted to tell every single one of you that you require a listen to the Darts with Jack podcast, where he will tell you everything that's happened at the Ali Pali, all the results, the analysis, the stats. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, you do not want to miss it. The Darts with Jack podcast. Game on.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this World Championship recap. I'm going to be doing these every day up until the final of the World Darts Championship 2025, and this is day one. So we have 4 games to recap the opening day, only an evening session, but first, my condolences go out to Wayne Mardle, whose wife sadly passed away earlier this week, Donna. So obviously we hope she rests in peace, and my thoughts go out to Wayne and obviously anyone who is affected by the passing of his wife. On to the games on this evening. It started with Thibaut Tricol from France taking on Joe Comito from Australia. The game ended 3-1 to Thibaut Tricol. I didn't watch this evening session. I was out sadly, so I'm recapping based off the statistics I have in front of me. Tricol hit 2 180s to Joe Comito's 3 180s. As far as I could see, Joe Comito was really, popular with the crowd, interacting with them. The averages, 80.61 for Thibaut and 81.25 for Joe. Someone actually pointed out that the opening game at Lakeside had higher averages than this one. Checkouts overall, 29.73 for Thibaut Tricol and 25.81 for Joe Comito, with a lovely 118 checkout for Thibaut. In terms of your scoring power, there was more 140s and 100s thrown by Thibaut. This means that Thibaut Tricol went on to face Luke Humphries at the end of the night, which we will recap later. Second game of the evening was an informed Jermaine Wattimena taking on Stefan Belmont, and it was Jermaine who took this 3-0, going with the predictions of most people in this round. An average of 98.54 for Jermaine and 92.95 for Stefan. However, Stefan did hit 3 more 180s at 5-2. Looking at the statistics, it was the finishing that did help Wattimena in this game. 45%, 9 out of 20 on the doubles for him, compared to 36.36%, 4 out of 11 for Stefan. A high checkout of 95 for Jermaine, and he did win 9 legs, obviously, compared to Stefan's 4. That one, I think, as I mentioned, did go with quite a lot of people's predictions. Wattimena obviously saw him in the Euro Championships final, a very informed player at the moment. Then we have what people were calling the tightest game to call at this point, which was Kim Huybrechts versus Keane Barry. The youngster from Ireland did beat Kim 3-1 in this game, a 94.25 average for him, slightly lower than Huybrechts' 96.92. But an absolutely whopping scoring game with 10 180s in 4 sets for Kim and 7 for Keane. That is, in 4 sets, absolutely mental. But once again, it was the checkout percentage of Keane Barry that was absolutely clinical in this one. 11 out of 21, 52.38%. With 25% on the double, 7 out of 28 from Kim. So a dominant performance in terms of finishing coming from Keane. 41 100-plus scores, 15 140-plus, and 7 180s from Keane. 37, 19, and 10 respectively from Kim. 11 legs to 7-1. So that shows you that it was Barry hitting the doubles at the decisive moments. Then we had Luke Humphries, who took on Thibaut Tricol. Thibaut, obviously, I think the way they do it is quite harsh. Naturally, he's got to play twice in an evening. 3-0 win for Humphries, however, not as dominant as we thought it would be. Did go with the predictions of a 3-0 victory for Luke, the world number 1, and obviously the reigning champion. However, the average was not up to his usual standard, only averaging 90.79 compared to 85.62 for Thibaut. So an improvement for Thibaut compared to his first game, but obviously not the most refined performance from Luke. Only 34.62% on the doubles. However, it was the 160 checkout from Luke that did proved to be the highest checkout of this game, as he won all 9 legs in this one. Thibaut not taking a single leg, which was obviously quite sad to see after Thibaut's success. In the first game, 34.62% on the checkouts for Luke. Can't remember if I've already mentioned that. 23, 7 and 2, 100 plus, 140 plus and 180s for him, compared to 18, 6 and 2 for Thibaut, respectively. His best set, Humphries, was the last one, averaging 100.20, 90.18 and 83.5 going back in the sets. Thibaut getting gradually better throughout, peaking in set 2 with 91.33. So a good performance from Humphries, however, not as dominant as we would expect him to be at this point in the competition. However, first game, there are likely to be nerves. Looking into tomorrow, we have an afternoon and an evening session. Your afternoon session games are Wesley Placier versus Asamoto. I don't want to butcher the surname, the first name, sorry. We have Luke Woodhouse versus Lawrence Iligan. We have Alan Suter versus Kai Gothard and James Wade versus Jermaine Watamina in the second round. Pick of the games there in the first round is probably, for me, the Suter-Gothard one. I think Wesley Placier will win quite dominantly. I think the Woodhouse-Iligan one will be hard to call, but I think Suter-Gothard will be a high-scoring game. Looking ahead to the evening session, we have Neil Zonnevel taking on Robert Owen, Connor Scott, who's one of my picks to be one of the real outsiders in this tournament, which will all be revealed on the podcast releasing tomorrow, versus Ben Robb, and Cameron Menzies versus Lennon Gates, as well as ending with the second round matchup between Gerwyn Price and Keane Barry. Can Price have his resurgence after what has been not his greatest 2024 so far? That is what is happening in Monday's session at the darts. I have recapped what's happened in the first evening, the Sunday night session of darts. This is the PDC World Darts Championships 2025. I hope you enjoy these little recaps. You will be getting one a day until the end of the World Championships, and there is a big podcast interview coming out on the 16th of December, tomorrow at the time of recording, with an incredible guest. That'll be coming in between the two sessions. Keep an eye out for that. Thank you for all the support on the podcast and the YouTube. It's been great. I hopefully have some content coming on YouTube for you. I know I have talked quickly. I'm trying to get through a lot of matches and stats in a short amount of time, so it's still interesting for you all. I hope you've all enjoyed it, and I will see you all tomorrow. Right, ladies and gentlemen, here is your World Championship of Darts recap. This is day 2. It's been an exciting day of darts. Let's start off with the afternoon session. We started off with Wesley Placier versus Asamoto, and it was a win 3-2 for Wesley Placier, coming back from 2 sets to 1 down to beat Asamoto, averaging 82.56. Not the Placier that we know. He didn't, average as high as we would expect him to. 3 180s in there for him. He will need a better performance to beat Peter Wright. Yes, Peter Wright has not been on form recently, but to beat someone of his calibre, he will need to step up his game, Wesley. Checkouts, 28.95 for him and 98 checkout for him. 11 legs 1 to 9 for Asamoto. 3 180s in there for Wesley as well. On to the next game, we had a dominant performance. I loved watching this one from Luke Woodhouse. 4 180s for him to 1 against Lawrence Iligan, winning 3-0 in sets. 94.38 average to 81.11 for Lawrence. 9 legs 1 for Woodhouse, 2 for Iligan, with a lovely 115 checkout in there from Luke Woodhouse. 45% on the checkouts as well. And the dominance really did come in the scoring. 21 100 plus scores, 12 140 plus scores and 4 180 plus scores for Luke, and 16 6 and 1 respectively for Lawrence. Luke's best set was set 1, averaging 104.86 compared to Lawrence's 71.5, which ultimately set him off to a good start and gave him a healthy lead. In the next game, we have Kai Gothard versus Alan Suter. This was a very interesting game. Very early into the game, Kai Gothard's barrel snapped in half, and he didn't have a spare set on stage with him, which seems a bit weird why you wouldn't bring a spare set on stage with you. I'm not a darts expert. I don't know if pros do that, but he did go off stage, came back with his set of darts and won this game at 3-1 in sets. Suter was struggling at a lot of points, a lot of single ones and single fives for him, and single threes as well. 3-1 to Gothard, 89.1 for Kai, 84.19 for Allen. Looking at the stats, 34.38 on checkouts for Kai, 28.57 for Allen, 11 legs 1 to 6. 180s, 3 for Kai, 2 for Allen. I can't remember if I mentioned that. In terms of best set of the game, Kai's was definitely set 2, averaging 98.46. Then in the final game of the afternoon session, we had an absolutely dominant Jermaine Wattermainer who swept James Wade out of this World Darts Championship, averaging 99.17 on his way, hitting 2 180s compared to 97.01 average for James and only a singular 180. Checkouts 50% for Jermaine, so a really good doubling percentage compared to 12.5 there for James. Legs 1 9 to 2. Absolutely brutal. In terms of your scoring, they were pretty equal. And in terms of your sets, the best set for Jermaine was set 3 by 0.03, averaging 104.89. In the third set, which was his best set, James Wade out of the World Darts Championship at the earliest stage possible for him. Then, going on to the evening session, we had Robert Owen, who beat Neil Zonneveld 3-1. 91.64 average for Robert, 93.19 for Niels, but a 180 fest with 5 from Niels and 3 from Robert. Checkouts were very, very similar. 40% for Niels, 37.5 for Robert. A lovely, lovely 1-2-1 checkout to end the game for Robert, and an incredible celebration from him. Then on to another brilliant performance, which was Connor Scutt beating Ben Robb of New Zealand 3-0, averaging 101.92 and 4 180s on his way. Scoring was ridiculous in this one, absolutely dominant. 21 100 plus, 10 140 plus, 4 180 plus, compared to 12 5 and 0 respectively for Ben. 56.25 on the checkouts for Connor as well. Only one leg one for Ben in this one, with almost a 20-point gap in the averages. Connor hitting loads and loads of ton plus finishes, was it 2 back-to-back, a 117 and a 112 potentially? An incredible performance from Connor, averaging just over 104 in both set 2 and set 3, and just over 95, almost 96 in the first set. A dominant performance there from Connor Scutt. Then on to arguably the most interesting game of the evening so far, and I say that because of what happened during the game. Leonard Gates 3, Cameron Menzies 1. This game was an interesting one, with Leonard starting off with 2 ton plus checkouts, including a 138 in the first leg. I can't remember what the second one was, but followed by an 85 checkout on the ball to take the first set. Not the greatest averages for this game, 82.96 for Leonard, 83.77 for Cammy, both throwing 5 180s, but it was sad to see what happened at the end. Cameron getting very emotional in the final set, brought it back to 2-2, I believe it was. Let me just double check, 2-2 in the last set, and got very emotional. There was emotion running high on stage. The crowds were chanting USA the whole time, which obviously, to have the crowd against you is obviously a tough thing. And I saw someone mention on Twitter that obviously his girlfriend, Fallon Sherrick, has to go and play on that exact same stage. She's seen how brutal it can be. She's been there before. She's seen it tonight. She's got to go face that tomorrow. A cruel, cruel sport is the world of darts. I hope Cammy is well. I hope he is feeling... or he's got the support that he needs after what has been a tough, tough year for him. Did obviously take that Pro Tour title. Wanted to go further than he has at the World Darts Championship. Today, looking at the stats, the 138 for Leonard was his highest in the match. 72 checkout for Cammy, his highest. Leonard 34.38 on the doubles. Cammy only 15.63. That shows you where the game was won. as scoring was pretty identical. 32, 13 and 5 100, 140 pluses, 180 pluses for Leonard respectively, compared to 29, 13 and 5 for Cameron respectively. So very, very little to split them in terms of averages. It was just the better doubling percentage from Leonard that did win him this game. Both players got off to a flyer and gradually slowed down as the match went on. Sad to see there from Cammy. Obviously, you wouldn't wish it on anyone. And we hope, obviously, he can recover well and go for a very, very strong 2025, which we know he has got in him. And now on to the final game of the night, which was Gerwyn Price versus Keane Barry. A 3-0 win for Gerwyn Price, the world number 10, which is what it says on Flash Score at the moment. I don't know what he is actually. After this round, he averaged 91.32 versus Barry's 86.81, 180 a piece for both of them. Oh, it's late. I'm struggling to get all my stats out here. 39.13% on the doubles for Gerwyn Price, 8.33% for Keane Barry. So really not his greatest performance at all. However, the highlight of the game arguably was Keane Barry's 144 checkout that did seem to just appear out of nowhere. He did only win 2 legs though, Barry, as we mentioned, struggling to find much, but a solid performance, although only a 91.32 average for Gerwyn Price. You imagine that would settle him. And he is through to the third round. Barry ends his 2024 on a strong note with that win against Kim Huybrechts, goes into 2025 with some motivation, we hope. A really, really strong young player, the world number 52. At the moment, looking ahead to tomorrow's darts, we have James Hurrell versus Jim Long, Kevin Dukes versus Nolan van Leuven, Ryan Joyce versus Darius Labanauskas, Mike De Decker versus Luke Woodhouse, and then in the evening session, Jeffrey de Graaf versus Rashad Sweeting, Ricardo Pietrezco versus Zhao Zong, Ryan Meikle versus Fallon Sherrick, and Peter Wright versus Wesley Placier to end the evening off. I hope you are enjoying these recaps. This one should be posted literally about 10 minutes after the Price-Barry game has ended. As mentioned before, I'm trying to squeeze as much information into still an enjoyable format for you guys. However, I did release an interview today with Polly James. It's about half an hour long. It is a really, really good listen. Obviously, that's obviously my personal bias, but it was so lovely of Polly to give up her time before the World Darts Championship and give her opinion on her career in media, as well as her predictions for the upcoming World Championships. Well, they're not upcoming anymore. They have started. But if you could listen to that would be amazing. See you all for tomorrow's recap. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. This is day 3 of your World Darts Championship 2025 recaps. We have 2 brilliant sessions to bring you all the stats, the figures, and all of the interesting points to make from today's games. In the afternoon session, we start with James Hurrell versus Jim Long. A 3-0 victory for James Hurrell in this one. An 88.75 average compared to 79.17 for Jim. 3 180s for James, 1 for Jim. Not an incredible game from Jim there, but we know he can play much better than he did average. We saw that on Modus recently. Doubles were the key factor in this one, with James hitting 42.86% of his checkout attempts, Jim only hitting 10%, with a lovely 120 checkout there from James. Jim, in fact, only won 1 leg there, so 9 legs to 1 if you look at it that way. In terms of the set by set, the best set was set 2. It was 3-1 in legs and 93.52 average for James, which was his best set, and so was Jim's 82.29 in that one. In the second game of the day, we had Kevin Dukes versus Nolan van Leuven. A 3-1 victory for Kevin in this one. 3 180s for him compared to 6 from Nolan. 88.13 average for Kevin, 87.02 for Noah Lynn. In terms of your checkout percentages, very, very equal. 29.41 for Kevin, 28 for Noah Lynn. and 10-7 in legs there. So the actual set scoreline does not reflect how close the game actually was, including a lovely Shanghai for Noah Lin there. Scoring was pretty equal overall. In fact, you could argue it did swing in Noah Lin's way. 37, 16 and 6, 100, 140s and 180s for her, and 31, 16 and 3 for Kevin respectively. In terms of your set by sets, Noah Lin's best set was set 3 with a 98.52 average. Kevin's also set 3 with a 98.28 average. A really, really good game to watch, especially as far as I can remember, it was Noah Lin who did go up by the set. Yes, it was. In terms of your sets, 3-1 to Noah Lin, 3-1 to Kevin, 3-2, 3-1 to Kevin, 3-2. I got those mixed up then, but that is how that game went. In the third game of the day, the penultimate one of the afternoon session, it was Ryan Joyce versus Darius Labanauskas. A 3-1 win for Ryan in this one, a 92.97 average for him compared to 89.62 for Darius. Darius, the Series 9 Motor Super Series champion, as of a weekend or two ago. 3 180s for Darius compared to 2 from Ryan. Looking at the overall statistics, doubles very similar, 40.91 for Ryan, 35.71 for Darius, 9 legs won in this one for Ryan, 5 for Labanauskas with a lovely 1-2-6 checkout for Ryan there. In terms of his best set, he came storming out of the blocks with a 107.36 average in set 1, as well as a 103.23 for Darius, and that is why that was both of their best sets. Into the final game of the afternoon session, a round 2 matchup in what was arguably the most shocking result of the day. The World Grand Prix champion Mike De Decker knocked out of this World Darts Championship by Luke Woodhouse. 3-1 in sets. Very, very similar averages. 88.38 for Luke, 87.38 for Mike. 3 180s for Mike, 4 for Luke. Looking at the stats, doubles 10% higher, approximately for Luke, 40.91, 29.41% for Mike. Highest checkout, a lovely 105 here for Luke, 68 only for Mike. And legs 9-5 in Luke's favour. Looking at the overall sets, it was set 4, Luke's best at 100.55 average. For Mike, it was set 3 at 107.36. So although there were flashes of the Mike De Decker that we know he can bring, sadly he didn't bring it out fully in this game, and that is why Luke Woodhouse progresses 3-1 to the next round. Now on to the evening session, we have Jeffrey de Graaf versus Rashad Sweeting, going the way we expected it to. 3-1 to de Graaf, 3 180s apiece in this one, 92.3 average for Jeffrey compared to 82.88 average from Rashad. Finishing was okay from both players, really good from Jeffrey, 43.48, 35.29 from Rashad. A lovely checkout of 1-2-6 for him, 1-16 respectively was Jeffrey's highest. 10 legs to 6-1, so closer than I think people expected this game to be. In the Ricardo Pietrezco versus Zaichen Zong game, it was 3-0 to Ricardo, 88.68 versus 84.03 on the averages, 4 180s compared to 3. Looking at the statistics, 9 legs 1 to 3, a 158 checkout from Ricardo, brilliant under pressure, 56.25% checkout from him, so an incredible finishing performance, 27.27 for Zaichen, and then a high checkout only of 60 for him, so it shows that he wasn't being as clinical as he could have been. Looking at the statistics, all sets very, very even for Ricardo. The standout set for Zong was set 2. Looking at the next game, we have Ryan Meikle versus Fallon Sherrick. A really good game, 3-2 to Ryan. Eventually, Sherrick missed a 170 on the ball, which, you know, people, I think, are all agreeing would have swung the game in her favour. 40.74% on the checkouts for Ryan, 30.43 for Fallon. Averages very similar, 83.53 for Ryan, 81.81 for Fallon. 11 legs to 7-1. 3,300, 34 for Fallon, 100, 140, 113 for Fallon, 3 180 for Fallon, showing 3-1-84 for Fallon, showing how close this game in fact was. A lovely 1-2-2 checkout for Ryan, though, was his highest compared to 78 from Fallon. Not as clinical on the checkouts as she probably could have been. Her best set did come in the last set, with a couple of just under 80 average sets for her in the first two. On to the next game, which is Peter Wright versus Wesley Plaisir. If not probably the most exciting game of the night. 3-1 win for Peter Wright here, as the commentators were saying, one of the most important wins for Peter Wright this year, if not the past couple years, surviving, as they called it, an onslaught from Wesley Plaisir. 93.77 average for him, 89.63 for Wright, 4 180s compared to 3 from Wesley. But it was the doubles, 45% for Wright, plays 31.03 for Wesley. A lovely 127 checkout for Wright was his highest, but a 136 from Wesley, his highest. 9 legs all, this game was. That shows you that it was tight, but it was Wright. Tight, but it was Wright who took the doubles at the most clinical time. Looking at the sets, it was 3-2 to Wright, 3-2 to Wright, 3-0 to Plaisir, 3-2 to Wright. Wright's best set was the final one, a 95.72 average. His worst, set 3, with a 67.21 average compared to an 100.20 average from Wesley there. So a little bump in the road there. Not his greatest performance in that set, but ultimately he wraps it up facing Jermaine Wattermainer in the next round. Looking at tomorrow's games, we only have an evening session, no afternoon session for you tomorrow. Jim Williams versus Paolo Nebrida. Madars Razma versus Christian Kiss, which I think will be an absolute cracking game, that one. Ricky Evans versus Gordon Mathers. And Nathan Aspinall versus Leonard Gates. Full of emotion, that final game. You've got the dancing Leonard Gates versus the Aspinall, who has been getting back into form recently, and obviously in his prime is one, and in any sort of form is one of the greatest darts players on the planet. A really good close session for you guys tomorrow. I hope you have enjoyed tonight's little recap, and I will see you all tomorrow night for the same thing for day 4. This has been day 3, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Well, this is day 4 of your World Darts Championship recap. I hope you liked that little message from Owen there. I got that on his Cameo. You can get them if you just look them up. They are really good, and Owen delivered this really quickly, so I'm really grateful. Let's get into what has been only an evening of matches, no afternoon session of matches today, so this recap is going to be slightly shorter. We start with Jim Williams versus Paolo Nebrida. Some shaky stuff from Jim Williams here, who missed 5 match darts, I believe, as it was Paolo who did take this 3-2 in sets. Looking at the averages, almost an 8-point gap, 94.1 for Jim, 86.63 for Paolo. 11 legs to 10, so although Paolo did win less legs, he did win the match overall. 6 180s for Jim, 1 for Paolo. Really kind of high quality game in terms of the scoring. Doubles extremely similar, all around that 36 to 37% for both of them. And a 158 highest checkout for Jim compared to a 121 highest checkout for Paolo, including a lovely 96 finish to wrap the game up in the last dart possible. Then we move on to the 9-dart hero, Christian Kiss, winning 60 grand for himself, 60 grand for fan in the crowd, and 60 grand donated by Paddy Power to prostate cancer. 3-1 win though for Madars Razma. Christian Kiss, the 9-dart hero. Obviously his highest checkout, the 141, only 100 checkout was Rasmus' highest, and almost a 5-point gap in the average here, pretty much 4 though. 94.90 for Christian Kiss, 90.65 for Madars. If you want to see a review of some Christian Kiss darts that I was very kindly sent by Matt at Loxley, you can check that out on my YouTube. Both players 50% on the doubles, but ultimately it was Madars who did take this game 3-1 in sets. And actually, I think someone mentioned that Christian didn't actually know he won that 60 grand until after the match. I bet that was a great surprise for him. Then we had Ricky Evans 3, Gordon Mathers 2. Very similar averages, with Gordon almost a point above, 86.23 for Ricky, 87.57 for Gordon. 10 legs to 9-1, so Ricky only winning this match slimly. However, it is set play, so it is even more exciting. The doubles did win it for him, though, 45.45 for him percent and 26.47 for Gordon. In terms of your scores, pretty much identical throughout, with Ricky hitting 6 180s, Gordon hitting 5. Ricky known as the fastest player in the world, pretty much. In terms of the best set, it was the final set for him, a 96.59 average for him, and Gordon's best set was set 5, 97.63. So the last set, the best set in this one. However, Gordon was only 1 out of 6 on his doubles. And moving on to the last match of the night, we have Nathan Aspinall versus Leonard Gates. And in this one, it was a 3-1 victory for the Englishman, only averaging 88.03 compared to Leonard's 83.41. 3 180s for the Asp, 5 for Leonard Gates. In terms of your statistics, it was Nathan's doubles, 45.83% for him, 30.43% for Leonard, so it was Nathan's doubles that won him the game with a lovely 114 checkout for him. In terms of his best sets, looking at these statistics, it was set free at 94.62 average for Nathan. We haven't seen many 10 plus averages so far in this year's World Championships, but Nathan Aspinall does book himself in the post-Christmas action. Looking ahead to tomorrow, we have Chris Lamman versus Lee, Callum Ridds versus Gravach, Lukeman versus Kumar, Clemens versus Owen, that's the round 2 match, Kenny versus Bunce, Sulovic versus Campbell, Williams versus Springer, and in the other round 2 match, Michael Smith versus Kevin Dute, a repeat of the match played in the first session of last year's World Championships. Only a short recap tonight, as we did only have one session of darts to recap. I hope you enjoyed the little message from Owen that will feature at the start of every recap from now. And I hope you all have a great day tomorrow, and I'll see you at the end of both sessions. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is day 5 of your World Darts Championship recap, and what a day of darts we have been blessed to today. 2 incredible sessions to bring you all the stats and they're the same thing, stats and key points to bring you. The first game, Chris Lamman 1, Lee from Hong Kong 3. Averages of 80.71 and 84.40 respectively. 2 180s for Lamman, none for Lee. However, it was the incredible 100-plus scoring power of Lee that gave him the victory, with 9 more 100-plus scores, as well as an extra 35% on the doubles, pretty much. So a very, very big difference in there that sees Chris Lamman knocked out. Then we have arguably the best performance of the day, which is, the best performance of the day, probably the best performance of the first round so far. Callum Ridds 3, Romeo Gravach 0, 107.06 for the average. Callum 97.92 for Romeo. I saw someone, I can't remember who put it, sorry, if it was you, feel free to comment saying it was you, and I will give you all the credit for this stat, saying that Romeo would have beaten like 25 other players or something. He ran into an incredible version of Callum that was on stage, I think, for 17 minutes total, so not a long game at all. 9 legs to 2. In terms of your 180s, 3 for Callan, but 60% on his doubles did give him the victory in this game. Then we had Martin Lukeman, the Grand Slam of Darts finalist 3, Nitin Kumar 1. Very similar averages, 86.66 and 85.77 respectively. 2 180s for Martin, 3 for Nitin, a really good walk-on by Kumar as well. In terms of this one, it was actually Kumar's finishing, which was much better than Lukeman's. Good checkouts though from Lukeman with 104, his highest. 11 legs to 6-1 in this one, so scoring power is the reason for victory there. Then we had the probably not the biggest shock result, because that will come later, but we do have a really, really, really good victory for Robert Owen. 3-1 win over Gabriel Clemens, which means he still has a chance at keeping his tour card, Robert. And Gabriel Clemens falls out of the top 32 after he did not defend much of his prize money that he won with that incredible run 2 years ago. In terms of the averages, 98.97 for Robin, 92.39 for Gabrielle. 3 180s apiece here. Real scoring power though from Robert. 42 100 plus scores compared to 29, and then 19 140 plus scores compared to 12 from Gabrielle. And his finishing was much better, about 13 point. Let me see if I can do the maths. No, 14.4% better for Robert. However, it was a lovely 1-for-free checkout of Gabrielle that took the highest leg checkout on that one. Moving into the evening session, it was Nick Kenny 3, Stowe Bunce 0. Nick Kenny also now got a chance at keeping his tour cards, 87.66 average and 87.26 for Stowe, so not much to split the players at all. 3 180s to 2 for Nick and Stowe respectively. However, it was the 100 plus scores of Nick, 6 more, 12 compared to 6, and the 50% on the checkouts, as well as the 170 big fish to win it that secured him the victory in that one. Then we have Matt Campbell, who unfortunately, I say unfortunately, I really like Mensur Suljovic, but I know Matt Campbell has had a tough year, so it's really, really good to see him averaging 93.31 on the Ali Pali stage, beating Mensur Suljovic 3-2, 4 180s apiece, and 88.44 average for Mensur. In terms of the differences, 100 plus, 140 plus scores were much more significant for Matt. Doubles very similar, only about 6.24% higher, and a highest checkout of 160 for him, and also a lovely 137 checkout from Mensur. 13 legs to 8 victory for Matt there, so slightly close in that one. I'm trying to find words for this game because I didn't watch it, sadly. I watched a lot of the evening session apart from this game, and I watched a couple of the afternoon session games. So yeah, this game, as far as I can tell from reading about the, kind of like match reports and stuff, good close game, good to see Campbell back in form. Then we move on to one of the most entertaining. I think this was the most entertaining match of the night. The reason I'm not saying the Smith-Dutz game was the most entertaining was because I wouldn't say it was really up until the final set. However, this game was ridiculous. A 3-1 win for Scott Williams. However, both players deserved to win. The treble hitting was absolutely ridiculous from both players. We saw blind 180s, we saw potential 9 data attempts, 9 180s for Scott, 7 180s for Nico, and 96.24 average for Scott and a 98.92 average for Nico in this one. Looking at your kind of scoring statistics, for Nico, 4100 plus scores, 1840 plus scores, and 7 180s. For Scott, 9 180s, 2040 plus scores, and 2900 plus scores. In terms of checkouts, however, Scott was a bit more clinical, 40.91 compared to 23.33% from Nico. A lovely 110 checkout from Nico was the highest of the match. Looking at, your kind of set by set statistics, it started to get ridiculous in set 3. In set 3, Scott averaged 105.62, Nico averaged 114.35. A brilliant game. Scott tried to go his kind of route, starting on the treble 16 on the 1-4-1. However, that did not pay off for him. Using a different kind of setup, I think he's converted soft tip darts to steel tip. Definitely, I think he's decreased his weight of darts as well, using and then the points changed by the target converter system. And then on to such a kind of tensions high. I could speak and watch this match just for hours on end. The world champ from 2 years ago, the world number 2, the bully boy, is out of this year's World Championships at the first round possible for him, round 2. Kevin Dutz, 3-2. In terms of your sets, it went 1-0 to Michael Smith, 1-all, 2-1 Michael Smith, 2-all, 3-2 Kevin Dutz. What a ridiculous game, I cannot say more. That final set, 6-4 it went to in the end. an incredible, comeback performance from, not even comeback, well, I guess you could call it comeback, coming from 2-1 to win it. However, just the way that Smith kind of kept on, there was an incredible 1-2-3 finish ending on 9-9, if I can remember. Just really good skin saver checkouts from the Bully Boy. I can't remember them specifically. However, I do know that Doots did hit a 90 checkout on the ball, having to move after his first single 20, got to the bullseye, an incredible finish, and he ended up winning the game on 5-5, a double which had escaped him all night. Both of them 50% on doubles in that last set. Tensions were high. Looking at your overall statistics, 96.93 for Michael, 96.90 for Kevin, pretty much identical, and also, checkouts are also quite identical, both players really struggling on the doubles. 35.48 for Michael, 31.58 for Kevin. In terms of their best sets, it's not going to surprise you that for both of them, it was the final set. To be fair though, actually that may surprise you, it was obviously a much longer set. However, it was a 106.2 for Michael and a 105.68 for Kevin. An emotional victory for Kevin Doots. However, he does move on to the next round, and Michael Smith likely, I can't remember if it was confirmed, but he's likely to fall out of the top 10 after defending his winning money from the 2023 World Darts Championship. What a way to end the night that game was. Moving on to tomorrow's action. Stephen Burton versus Alexander Merckx. Wessel Nyman versus Carolison. I'm hoping Carolison wins this one just because, obviously my favourite player, Joe Cullen, plays the winner, and we know how much Nyman's been in form. Ian White versus Sosing. Stephen Bunting. The Bunting. Let's go Bunting mentor. The Bullet, Stephen Bunting. I forgot his nickname then. It took me a while to get it though. Obviously the ever incredibly popular Stephen Bunting facing Kai Gothard, who had a brilliant performance in round 1. Then in the evening session we have Mickey Mansell versus Goto, Florian Hempel versus Jeffrey Deswan, Willie O'Connor versus Dylan Slevin, an all-island matchup there, and Michael Van Gerwen versus James Hurrell. Will we see another shock? Put your predictions in the Spotify comments below, and I will, see. I'll shout any comments, any predictions that you have. Comment them on the Spotify, and I will speak about them in tomorrow night's recap. This has been day 5, and I will see you all tomorrow for day 6. Ladies and gentlemen, this is day 6 of your World Darts Championship recap, a double session of darts to bring you all the stats and analysis from, starting with the afternoon session, which was a very poor performance from Stephen Burton as he lost to Alexander Merckx 3-0. Not really poor, but obviously they're about double me. But 78.41 average for Alexander, 75.63 for Stephen, 4 180s compared to 1 respectively. Checkouts both around the 30% mark, highest checkout of the game, and 100 from Stephen. 9 legs to 4-1 as Alexander easily storms into the next round. Then we had an absolutely brilliant game, probably the game of the session, definitely the game of the session. Wessel Nyman 3, Cameron Carolison 2. Brilliant drama. Carolison forced the final set with Wessel Nyman leaving with 50 and 85 after 9 to take this in the kind of tiebreaker situation, 2 clear legs. 94.83 for Wessel and 95.90 for Cameron. 7 180s to 6 respectively. A really high scoring game. 11 legs to 10-1 overall. Just shows you how close it was. Doubles were about 10% better for Wessel in this one, with an incredible 139 checkout to open the game. He takes on Joe Cullen in round 2, my favourite player. Then Ian White did have a walkover against Sosing, as he did withdraw due to medical issues in the practice rooms. So we hope that everything is okay with him. In the next game, our round 2 matchup, it was Stephen Bunting 3, Kai Gothard 1. After Kai did take the first set, Stephen then did dominate, going 3-2, 3-0 and 3-0 in the sets. A 108 was the highest checkout of the match from Stephen, a 92.12 average from him and an 89.40 from Kai. Looking at your overall doubles, they were both identical. 10 out of 20 for Stephen, which equals 50%, 5 out of 10 for Kai, 50% and double the 180s from Kai, 4 compared to 2 from Stephen. Stephen Bunting moves into the post-Christmas action. Then we had Mickey Mansell, a Grand Slam, I think it was semi-finalist in the end, with a 3-1 win over Goto, one of my personal favourite players on the Asian Tour. Really, really likeable darts player. 81.34 average for Mickey, 82.22 for Goto, 180 from Mickey and 2 from the Japanese player. 52.38% on the doubles from Mickey, so a really good doubling performance from him. 34.78 from Goto. Highest checkout, both of them getting at least 1 ton plus with a 108 from Mickey and a 110 from Goto, and 11 legs to 8, 1 respectively. So the leg play was actually statistically closer than the set play may show. Then it was Florian Hempel 3, Jeffrey Deswan 1. A really good performance here from Florian, 92.73 average compared to 94.36. 7 180s apiece in this game, so really, really high scoring game. Lovely, lovely scoring. 43.48 on the doubles for Florian was the absolute difference in this game, as over 20% lower Jeffrey at only 22.73%. That shows you the real difference. A 120, the highest checkout from Florian, 10 legs to 5-1. Then we had Willie O'Connor versus Dylan Slevin, the battle of the Irishmen, as it was Dylan Slevin who did win this one 3-1. 86.35 average for him compared to an 85.92 for Willie, so a very, very kind of similar average. 4 180s for Slevin, 2 for O'Connor. Looking at the doubles percentage, actually much better from Willie O'Connor, 38.1% compared to 27.78 for Dylan. 10 legs to 8-1, so even closer than the Hempel-Deswan game in that one. In terms of kind of what was the best set for each of them, overall, just taking a quick look, it was set 2 for Dylan at a 93 average, and it was set 3 for Willie at a 96.39 average, so a good game in that one. Someone mentioned that Dylan Slevin's points, well, I think, did someone say they were damaging the balls and he might be spoken to before his next round 2, or before his round 2 matchup, so I will hopefully I will respond to that once I find out if there are any more information based on if he will be spoken to over his points. I don't think, I'm just going to double check again, I don't think there were any, there weren't any comments on yesterday's recap episode, so no predictions to look over. So before I recap the Van Gerwen versus James Hurrell match, please do leave your predictions in the comments, as I will feature every single one on the podcast on the next episode. And moving on to the final game of the evening, it was an absolute demolition of James Hurrell by Michael Van Gerwen, averaging 94.85 and hitting 5 180s in a 3-0 victory. James averaged 89.32 and hit a 180. In terms of your doubles, though, arguably probably the doubling performance of the World Championship so far. 60% on the doubles for Michael Van Gerwen. My stat just changed there really weirdly. 60% on the doubles for him. Highest checkout at 120, but one of James's 3 legs did end on a 1-2-1 checkout, so lovely from him. In terms of your scoring, you can argue that James had the better 100 plus and 140 plus scorings, with 4 more ton plus scores and 2 more 140 plus scores, but Michael Van Gerwen did turn a lot of those into 180s, obviously 4 more than James. Looking at your set-by-set averages, it was the final set which was best for Michael at an 100.53 average, and for James it was set 1 with a 96.82. Set 2 was only 76.59 for him, which is where Michael started to capitalise. Looking ahead to tomorrow's games then, Karel Sedlacek versus Rhys Griffin, Richard Veenstra versus Toilo, Brendan Dolan versus Lee, Dobie versus Merckx. I'm trying to work out that is so it's 2 round 2 matches then, as far as I'm aware, yeah. Noppert versus Joyce, that is also round 2. Barneveld, Kenny, Littler, Meikle and Heta Scott, so they're all round 2 in the evening session. I'm Yes, they are all round 2. The Luke Littler making his first appearance since his incredible run last year. Game of the day for me tomorrow, I think, will be Damon Heta versus Connor Scott. Connor Scott could cause an absolute... I think he could cause havoc this tournament. I think he could go really far. Similar to the likes of what Dobie did last year. Not obviously, Dobie wasn't an outsider, but did go further than expected. I hope you've enjoyed your Day 6 recap, and I will see you all tomorrow for Day 7. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Day 7 of your World Darts Championship recap. We have 2 excellent sessions of darts to bring you, including a full session of round 2 games. Starting in the first game of the day, we had Reese Griffin 3, Karel Sedlacek 0 with a 91.1 average from Reese, and 8 180s, a humongous 8 180s, demolishing Karel, who averaged 82.58 and hitting 3 180s. Looking at your overall stats, it was 9 legs to 4-1, so not a close game by any stretch of the imagination. However, Reese's highest checkout was 40, so combination finish is not a trademark for him, with only 31.03% on the doubles. Then we had Toilo, who beat Richard Veenstra 3-0, a brilliant victory for him. Averages so similar, 86.03 compared to 86 for Richard. 9 legs to 6-1, so a much closer game than the scoreline does reflect, although an incredible 1-4-6 finish for Alexis helped him in this game, and an incredible 50% on checkouts. Then in a round 2 game, Brendan Dolan beat Lee 3-0, so pretty much a first 3 games of 3-0 victory, demolishing. 92.02 average for him compared to 83.2 for Lee. 9 legs to 3-1, so a demolishing. 5 180s compared to just the singular one for Lee in this game. In terms of the big turning points in this game, looking at your set-by-set averages, it was set 3 for Brendan with a 98.9 average that did help him along. Then we had Chris Dobie beating Alexander Merckx 3-1 with a 95.62 average. Best game of the day, this one was up until this point, a 90.54 average for Alexander. 6 180s from Dobie, one of the big 180 hitters in the world compared to only 1 from Alexander. However, Alexander's doubles were 16% better at 41.67% compared to Dobie's 25, with however a lovely checkout of 122 from Chris. Moving into the evening session, Ryan Joyce 3, Danny Noppert 1, a 93.88 average for Ryan Joyce, a 93.91 average for Danny. But this is incredible. Danny lost 3-1, but 8 180s from him compared to only the singular 180 from Ryan. On the doubles, 47.62% for Ryan, 28.57 for Danny, with an incredible 1-2-4 checkout. One of the not the turning point of the game, but one of the high moments of the game. 10 legs to 8-1 though, so it was a much closer game than the scoreline does reflect. In terms of the best sets, for Ryan it was set 3 at 99.4, and that was the same for Danny with a 99.21 average, so a much better game than the scoreline reflects. Then we had Raymond van Barneveld 1, Nick Kenny 3. Nick Kenny did miss a load of match darts, with Raymond van Barneveld struggling to capitalise until Nick Kenny did finally manage to stumble over the line with an 86.39 average compared to Raymond van Barneveld's 84.64. 3 180s from Raymond, 4 from Nick. Looking at the stats, not a great doubling performance from either player. 22.5% from Nick, 32% from Raymond. The highest finish of the game, and 97 out from Nick Kenny. 9 legs to 8-1. So again, an incredibly close game. Looking at players' best sets, it was set 2 for Nick with a 98.17 average. And for Raymond, it was also set 2 with a 95.82 average. To show you how close this game was, the first set was 3-1 to Nick, second set 3-2 to Nick, third set 3-0 to Raymond, but third set 3-2 to Nick. Then we had one of the performances of the tournament so far from Luke Littler. Although it wasn't best in terms of the overall average, I will have to tell you about this final set. Luke Littler 3, Ryan Meikle 1. Ryan Meikle played really well, stumbled into a really good form of Luke Littler, obviously. 10 180s for Luke, 4 for Ryan Meikle. In terms of your doubles, 50% for Luke, so a strong doubling performance. 31.58% from Ryan, so a slightly poorer performance from him. 6 legs to 10, so Littler 4 legs better. In terms of your set by set, set 1 went 3-2 to Luke. Set 2 was 3-1 to Ryan. Set 3 was 3-1 to Luke. Set 4 was 3-0 to Luke. Luke Littler had a final set average of 140.91. I'm just going to repeat that for you. 140.91. That is absolutely mental. Ridiculous. Missed double 12. I'm not saying obviously this is ridiculous. Missed double 12 for the 9 darter. But to be fair, it was close. I think some people are suggesting you might go treble 17 for double 15 or treble 15 for double 18. So we'll have to see what he does with that one in the future. Yeah, I can't even describe to you how good Littler was in this set. Was it 11, 10, 12 maybe? I can't remember. Yeah. No, maybe 12, 10, 11, or I can't even remember. All of them under 12 darts, though, definitely. 140.91 for Luke. That is absolutely ridiculous. Did get emotional in his post-match interview, speaking to the guys on the ADL, Amateur Darts League group chat. The pressure on him must be ridiculous, you know, especially the sports personality thing. There's that added pressure on him to perform. He's got this name around him. The world of darts has no doubt grown because of him. There must be so much pressure. He got emotional, sad to see, but Luke Littler winning this game 3-1. And what a game it was to end the night between Damon Heta and Connor Scott. Any player could have won it at any time. Ultimately, it was Heta's doubles that did win him the game. Damon Heta wired the double 12 for a 9 darter, winning with an average of 97.96 compared to a higher average of 98.47 from Connor. 6 180s from Connor compared to 5 from Damon, but doubled the percentage on the doubles for Heta, 52.38 compared to 25 from Connor. 11 legs to 5-1, highest checkout of 1-1, and as I mentioned, wired that double 12 from the 9. A really, really cracky night of darts. Almost we had 2 9 darters. The crowd have been treated to an incredible night of darts there. Brilliant character Damon Heta is. I think showing some of the performances this year, I don't think you can discount him from going and having an incredible run this year. So one to definitely look out for. Tomorrow we have Ryan Searle versus Matt Campbell, Dirk van Dijdenbode versus Madars Rasma, Joe Cullen versus Vessel Nyman, Richie Edhouse versus Ian White, Martin Schindler versus Callum Ridds, Ross Smith versus Paolo Brider, Gary Anderson versus Jeffrey de Graaf, and Dimitri Vandenberg versus Dylan Slevin. A great day of darts up tomorrow. It was a cracking day of darts today. This has been your World Darts Championship 2025 recap, day 7, and I will see you all for day 8 tomorrow. Welcome to day 8 of your World Darts Championship 2025 recap. 2 sessions of darts to bring you all the stats and analysis from Ali Pali. The first game was a demolishing of Matt Campbell by Ryan Searle, a 3-0 victory with 4 180s compared to Matt's 1, a 99.38 average compared to 90.31 from Matt, so still very, very respectable. But these double stats are the reason the game went the way the scoreline suggested. 52.94% for Ryan Searle compared to only 7.69% from Matt Campbell, 1 out of 13 attempts. Overall legs and 9 legs to 1 compared to a 164 checkout and a 36 from Matt Campbell. So a much, much better overall performance from Ryan Searle, with Matt's only dart at a double coming in set one. He then, only successful dart at a double coming in set one. Then we had a comeback victory from Matt Rasma, beating Dirk van Dijvenbode 3-1 with a 91.33 average. Dirk mentioned to Viaplay after his game that he has been feeling ill all week, so the stamina, probably the reason why Madars did take this game. 4 180s compared to 2 from Radars. Looking at your statistics, doubles very similar, 43.75% for Dirk, 45% for Madars, but a 147 checkout from Dirk, the best of the match, and that came in a stellar first set with an 112.73 average with a 147 checkout. Madars' best set was set 2 with 98.46 average. Then we had my favourite player, Joe Cullen, demolishing Wessel Nyman 3-0 with a statement victory, 98.18 average compared to Vessel's 98.01. 8 180s from Cullen, the scoring machine. He was on fire compared to 5 from Vessel. Good on his doubles as well, 40.91, a lovely 84 highest checkout. He was on fire with 9 legs to 4-1. His best set, was the first at an 104.36 average, 50% on his doubles and 2 180s, although he did hit a 180 more in both of the following sets. Then it was Ian White 3 beating the European champion Richie Edhouse to 1. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words today. I'm trying to get as much as I can in possible. An 88.86 average from Ian compared to an 84.19 from Edhouse. Not the highest scoring game. 33 100s for Ian, as in 100 pluses, 9 140 pluses, 2 180s, and for Richie 30 100 pluses, 12 140 pluses, and 1 180. Checkouts 40% for Ian, 25% for Richie, with a 118 checkout, the highest in this game. 10 legs to 6, so not as close as we probably would have expected. Then it was another demolishing, this time of Martin Schindler by Callum Ridds, who came out victorious 3-0. A 91.05 average for Callum, beating Schindler's 89.37. However, 1 more 180 for Martin, 4 compared to 3. That is Darts Anonymous out of the tournament. A really good point to make here is that Martin did wire the double 12 for a 9 darter again. That is 3 in the space of 24 hours. I'm sure we will get another. Callan's best set was set 2 at a 95.02 average. Martin's was set 1 at 93.38. A big game there, and a big win for Callum Ridds. However, a lot of people saying that he has been nervous on stage. He did post on Instagram a few months ago saying he was struggling. However, I'm sure this gives him an absolute wealth of confidence, beating Martin Schindler, a really informed player. Obviously, he's had those couple wins on the Euro Tour this year. We know what he's capable of. One of my favourite players as well, Martin Schindler. So sad to see him out, but good to see Callum Ridds back in form. Then one of the biggest shocks, if not the biggest shock of the tournament so far, is Ross Smith lost 3-0 to Paolo Nebrida. 4 180s apiece from the players. 91.07 for Paolo, 89.79 for Ross Smith. Looking at your overall stats, as I mentioned, probably less 180s than we would expect from Ross at 4, but good scoring from Paolo. 29 ton pluses, 11 140 pluses, and 4 180s compared to 34 100 pluses, 11 140 pluses, and 140 pluses, and 4 180s from Ross. Checkouts, it was one of the best doubling performances you will ever see at Ali Pali. 81.82% on Paolo's doubles, 9 out of 11 compared to 23.08, 6 out of 26 for Ross. I doubt you will see a better doubling performance this year. 120 was the highest checkout for Paolo, 97 for Ross, 9 legs to 6-1. So actually closer than the scoreline reflects. However, as I mentioned, a really solid overall performance from Paolo. I said that Ross Smith could have been the biggest shock of the night. However, I did record that just before the Gary Anderson defeat. A 3-0 demolishing of Anderson by Jeffrey de Graaf with a 95.56 average. 3 180s for him compared to 2 for Gary, a 92.51 average. In terms of checkouts, it was again an outstanding doubling performance. 9 out of 12, 75% on the doubles for Jeffrey, compared to only 15% for Gary. 1-2-1 checkout was Gary's highest, a 120 for Jeffrey, and it was 9 legs to 3, an absolute demolishing. Then it's been a day of 3-0 demolishings, you know. We've had 3-0, 3-1, 3-0, 3-1, 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, 3-0. Wow. A 96.00 average compared to a 95.02 average. 6 180s to 3 means that Dimitri Vandenberg does beat Dylan Slevin. And 117 checkout was the highest for Vandenberg to take the first set, with all 3 sets going to a last leg decider. Set 3 was the highest in terms of quality with a 106.99 average compared to 103.30. A very, very, very good night of darts. Good afternoon session of darts. Amazing to see Joe Cullen go through tomorrow. This has been day 8 and I'll see you all tomorrow for your day 9 recap. It is day 9 of the World Darts Championship 2025. It is the penultimate day before the Christmas break. So before I wish you all a Merry Christmas, let's recap the day's darts. We started with what can only be described as kind of the afternoon session with arguably the slowest players. A 3-1 win for Krzysztof Ratajski. 5 180s apiece between him and Alexis Toilo. With a 95.32 average for Krzysztof and a 96.39 for Alexis. Andrew Gilding beating Martin Lukman 3-1, 6 180s to 0. Gilding was on fire during this game. A 92.65 average faced 91.28 from Martin. Looking at your overall stats of 33.33% on the doubles for Martin compared to a slightly lower 25.71% on the doubles for Gilding. But the weakness in scoring from Martin meant that the Grand Slam finalist could not get close to Andrew Gilding in terms of the sets. Did in legs, as it was 9 legs to 6 to Gilding. Then we had Josh Rock demolishing Rhys Griffin 3-0 with an 87.13 average compared to an 85.99 for Rhys. 3 180s to 4 respectively, so not the greatest game we've seen so far. The real difference here was that Rhys Griffin only converted 2 of his 10 double attempts, so 2 legs for him, 9 for Josh Rock, 39.13% on the doubles for him. The highest checkout of the game and 110 coming from Rhys. In the final game of the afternoon session, one of the most exciting games of the tournament so far, Johnny Clayton beating the Grand Slam, was it semi-finalist in the end, Mickey Mansell, 3-2. 6 180s to 1 here. Mansell was having some very loose darts into the 5 segment, especially some dodgy darts near the end, aiming for doubles to the point where we didn't know if he was splitting or if he was going for the double directly. I think there was one attempt in double 13 where it landed in the single 6. Whether he was splitting it, I don't know, but I believe he then did pin the double 10. A great performance from him though, regardless. Although the average wasn't great, good to see the strong character that is Mickey Mansell on stage with an 84.26 average compared to a 92.45 for Johnny, 6 180s to 1. Looking at your overall set by sets, the best set for Johnny was comfortably set 2 with a 98.02. Mansell's best set, just looking through the stats here, was set 1 with a 90.2. So coming out of the block strongly. The highest checkout of the game, that 154 from Mickey Mansell, the skin saver that it was. With Clayton, was it the sudden death leg in the end, I'm pretty sure? Yeah, sudden death in the end. Clayton coming out on top. Then, going into the evening session, a shock, I'd call this a shock. Jean Van Veen in form recently, a 3-1 loss for him, to Riccardo Pietrezco. The German averaging 91.64, just under Van Veen's 91.99. 2 180s for Riccardo, 1 for Jean. Highest checkouts on 127 for Van Veen and 122 for Riccardo Pietrezco. Doublings, though, was over double better than Van Veen with a 55.56% on the doubles, so a very, very good performance from him. 23.35% for Van Veen. 10 legs to 4-1, so a dominant performance there from Riccardo Pietrezco. Then a very good, exciting game, and this was especially good due to the high averages. 98.31 for Daryl Gurney as he beats Florian Hempel 3-2 with a 96.44 average for Florian. 5 180s apiece in this one. Doubles were identical. Both of them converted 10 out of their 22 attempts at double, 45.45%. With the 156 from Daryl, the highest checkout in the game. To show you how close this game was, it was 10 all in legs played. Kind of the way the set by set went. Set 1 went to Florian, set 2 went to Daryl, set 3 went to Florian, set 4 went to Daryl, set 5 went to Daryl. Looking then at the penultimate game of the pre-Christmas action, the penultimate game of the evening. I can talk about this for a while. I've just watched it. Brilliant game for Ricky Evans here, beating Dave Chisnell 3-2. 5 180s for him compared to 4 for Chizzy. 94.30 average for Ricky, 94.54 for Chizzy. Looking at your overall highest checkouts, a 126 for Ricky compared to a 121 for Chizzy. 14 legs for Chizzy won compared to 13 from Ricky. Ricky wins even after winning less legs. Shows you how exciting set play really can be. 60 ton plus scores for Chizzy compared to 54. 24 140 plus scores compared to 23. And 4 180s compared to 5. So a very, very equal performance from both players. In terms of the best sets for each player, it was set 1 for Chizzy with a 107.95 average. And for Ricky Evans, it was set 1 with a 102.50 average in a set they actually lost. In terms of doubles, 46.43% for Ricky, 31.82 for Chizzy. But let's talk about this final set. It went like a seesaw. One player went up needing, they all mismatched darts. Ricky first missed a dart at the ball, Chizzy missed a dart at tops, and Chizzy was left on 139. I think it was to level the game, this was. I think it was to level the game. It definitely wasn't to win it. Went treble 19, treble 14, leaving tops, and went for double 16 and hit it. He celebrated. Charlie Corsavine called out the score, knowing that it wasn't game shots. So great refereeing from him there. A miscalculation for Chizzy didn't cost him in the end, as he did pin the double one with his last dart in hand, as we know how good he is at double one. But Ricky Evans, that cough then, couldn't get my words out. It was very exciting for Ricky Evans. Single 12 and then tops to take was 52. I'm pretty sure it was single 12 tops. I've just watched it, so I don't know why I can't remember. To take the game, Ricky Evans through to round 3. Next game was Rob Cross versus Scott Williams, where we saw a 3-1 victory for Rob Cross, a 3-1 victory for Scott Williams, averaging 87.9 compared to Cross's 88.6. Threatened the 9-darter in the end, Scott Williams, but couldn't capitalise. 4 180s for him compared to 6 from Rob. Looking at your overall stats, it was a 38.1% finishing percentage of Rob compared to 29.73% for Scott. Highest checkout of 100 from Scott compared to 130 from Rob. 11 legs to 8-1. Key point in this one was, in the very, very final leg of the game, Scott left 80, went tops, threw 2 at tops, missed both of them, so did not leave himself a chance to take the match, in those set darts. However, Rob Cross missed 70 and Scott Williams did capitalise. A good performance from him, a great final session of darts before Christmas. I hope you all have enjoyed the first half of the World Championship recaps. I hope you all have an amazing Christmas, and I will see you all, I think it's on the 27th, for some more daily Ali Pali World Darts Championship 2025 recaps. See you all after the Christmas break. It has been a while, guys, due to the Christmas break, but this is day 10 of your World Darts Championship 2025 recap. I bring you the best day of darts we have had so far. No doubt about this. We had drama, we had domination, but interesting games nonetheless. The first one, Damon Heta 3, Luke Woodhouse 4. The 9-dart hero, Damon Heta, continuing the curse. Christian Kiss hit a 9-darter and lost. Damon Heta hits the 9-darter and loses. I'll speak about the 9-darter first. Went the classic route of 180, 180, 141. Brilliant darts all the way throughout. The celebration was amazing. Woodhouse going mental. Good to see. 60 grand for Heta, 60 grand for someone in the crowd, and more importantly, 60 grand going towards Prostate Cancer UK, the charity, which is amazing. Fingers crossed more people can hit 9-darters so we can have as much money donated to charity as possible. Looking at the averages in this game, 92.34 for Luke, 89.69 for Damon, 8 180s for Luke, 7 180s for Damon Heta. Doubles though, Heta really struggled. He really dipped. He was 3-1 up Heta. Luke Woodhouse came back to win 4-3. 29.27% on the checkouts for Heta, 36.17 for Woodhouse. The highest checkout, a 158 for Luke. Could have hit higher, but Heta's highest checkout, was the 141. 89.69 average for him, 92.34 for Luke. 17 legs, 1 to 12 for Luke. And Luke Woodhouse did hit 9 legs on the bounce to secure him the victory. Scoring wise, very equal. 56 to 48 ton plus scores, 27 to 26 ton 40 plus scores, and 8 180s to 7. In terms of your set by set averages, the best set for Damon was set 4 at a 102.14. His worst set though was set 5 at a 73.36 average. For Woodhouse, his best set was comfortably set 3 with a 106.38 average. Moving on, we had another nail-biting game. Johnny Clayton 4, Daryl Gurney 3. 4 180s apiece in this one in the last set decider. 90.11 average for the Ferret, 92.6 for Super Chin. In terms of your scoring power, 60 ton plus compared to 63 for Gurney and Clayton, respectively. 20 to 24 ton 40s and 4 180s apiece. Checkouts quite equal, 38.89% for Johnny, 32.5% for Daryl, with a lovely 160 from Johnny being the highest checkout of the game. Daryl failing to convert any ton plus finishes with his highest finish, only 76. 13 legs to 14, so Clayton did take more legs in the end. This is how the sets went. 1-0 Clayton, 2-0 Clayton, 3-0 Clayton, 3-1 Clayton, 3-2 Clayton, 3-3 draw, 4-3 Clayton with a 3-1 win in the deciding set. Clayton faces the winner of Going Price versus Joe Cullen. I won't spoil the result now. Stephen Bunting then beat Madars Razma 4-1, 6 180s to 2 here, so a dominant performance on the scoring for Stephen. A 100.06 average for him compared to 90.92 for Madars. In terms of your scoring power, it's kind of a bit of a useless stat, as obviously Madars does play off the 19s a lot, so I'm going to kind of ignore it, but Steve, as you know, my page doesn't give me the kind of, your 93 plus, your 131 plus, etc., 171 plus. So in terms of Stephen's scoring, 6 180s for him, 28 ton 40 pluses and 53 ton plus scores, 34.15 on the doubles, 50% for Madars. So when he got down, he only had 12 attempts at a double, but when he got down to it, he almost converted it. He was set to convert it within 2. A ton 20 checkout for Stephen, not the highest in the game though, a lovely 149. Was it I can't remember. Well, when was it? That 149. Oh gosh. Oh, in the final set, that was it. The 149 for Madars. 14 legs for Stephen compared to 6 for Madars. Stephen's best set was set to a 107.36 average. Madars' best set was set 2 at 98.57. I really like the look of Madars' darts. I said this when I was looking at the mission launch. Yeah, brilliant game to watch, especially for Bunting. Good to see his son Tobias in the crowd, soaking up all of the atmosphere. Then we move on to the evening session. I could speak about this game for ages. I am going to speak about this game for ages. Gerwin Price 4, Joe Cullen 3. 13 180s for Gerwin, 7 180s for Cullen. Gerwin was ruthless on the 180s, especially at the right times. 92.6 average for Gerwin compared to the slightly higher 92.77 for Joe Cullen. First of all, I'm going to go set by set. 1-0 to Price, 2-0 to Price, 3-0 to Price. 3-1, 3-2, 3-3. I'll talk about the last set in a second. In terms of your scoring power, 75 ton plus scores to 73 for Price and Cullen respectively. 31 to 29 ton 40 plus scores, 31 80s to 7. Checkouts 31.03% for Gerwin, 35.19 for Cullen. A very scrappy performance on the doubles for Gerwin. I know I say also for Cullen, but in terms of, Price was scrappier when it mattered. He could have ended the game a lot sooner. Highest checkout was a 140 from Gerwin at the depth, but the best checkout of the tournament so far. This is the best game of the tournament so far. This is the best everything of the tournament so far. A 170 for Joe Cullen, exactly when he needed it most. Price was set on a very easy checkout. I can't remember whether it's to take the game or level. Definitely wanted to level it, but to take the game. Brilliant stuff from Joe Cullen there. 170 finish right when it matters. That is one of the best 170s, if not the best big fish that you will ever see. It was a couple of double six misses that meant that it went to Price. The pendulum slung to Price. It then swung back to Cullen. He had the darts. It was such a tense final set. 6 legs to 5-1 in the very final deciding leg. It was Price who did take the decider with 45-5. Double 20 deserted him a lot during the game. Cullen in the last leg struggled. Cullen will definitely take a big TV title in 2020. I don't see any world where he doesn't. It shows that when he's on his form and when he comes in those clutch moments, he is arguably one of the best players on the tour. Heartbreak for Joe Cullen, my favourite player. We will see him come back for what I'm hoping, and I'm pretty sure will be, an incredible 2025. In the penultimate game, the middle game of the evening session, Peter Wright, in a rich vein of form in this World Championships, 4. Jermaine Wattimena, also very much in form, the European champion runner-up, 2. 96.19 average for Peter, 96.5 for Jermaine, 10 180s to 8 for Peter and Jermaine respectively. Checkouts 45.16 for Peter, 33.33 for Jermaine, so a better performance for Peter. In terms of scoring, it was very, very evenly matched. 45 ton plus to 49, Peter and Jermaine Wattimena. 20... I can't remember what I said there. Peter and Jermaine respectively, 21 to 21, 10 40 pluses respectively, and 10 to 8 180s. Highest checkout was a 144 for Jermaine, 117 checkout for Peter Wright. Set by set averages, the highest for Jermaine was, hold on, if I got that wrong. Oh no, I haven't. Set 3 for a 102.21 for Peter Wright. His highest set by set average was the last one at a 10.12. Good to see Peter Wright back in form in terms of your set by sets. It went 1-0 to Peter, 2-0 to Peter, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, 4-2. Good to see Peter Wright back in some form. And the next game is Luke Humphries versus Nick Kenny, in which Luke Humphries did take the 4-0 win, 4 180s for him, 1 for Nick, a 99.13 average for the current reigning world champion, a 92.43 average from Nick, slowly growing throughout the game. In terms of your doubles, it was a brilliant doubling game for both players, 54.55% from Luke and 57.14% from Nick, only getting 7 darts at a double throughout the whole game with his highest checkout, just 40. Luke Humphries, a 145, was his highest, 12 legs to 4-1. In terms of your highest set average, it was Luke Humphries for set 3, and it was set 4 for Kenny on 102 average. Kenny did have that win over Raymond van Barneveld, a good tournament for him, and I think he does now keep his tour card. Looking ahead to day 11, tomorrow's session, it's Ryan Joyce versus Ryan Searle, Scott Williams versus Riccardo Pietrezco, and Nathan Aspinall versus Andrew Gilding. And then in the evening session, it's Chris Dobie versus Josh Rock, Michael Van Goen versus Brendan Dolan, and Luke Littler versus Ian Wright. I will see you all tomorrow for day 11. An exciting double session of darts to bring you all the stats and analysis from. It is still round 3, starting with the afternoon session. Ryan Joyce beating Ryan Searle 4-3 in a last set decider thriller. 8 180s for Joyce, 9 for Searle, and 97.4 average for Ryan compared to an 100.97 for Ryan. However, the doubles, it was an outstanding performance from Ryan at 62.07%. I say Ryan Joyce, and 48.39% from Searle. So obviously a really good doubling performance, but it just shows that even though the average was lower, averages are not all that matter. Highest checkout in the game was a 1-2-4 from Searle, but the 1-1-3 was the highest for Joyce, and 18 legs to 15-1, so a real tight game. In terms of your scoring at power, 78 for Searle compared to 71 ton plus scores, 38 ton 40s for Searle, 28 for Joyce, and 9 180s to 8. In terms of your set by set, it went 1-0 to Joyce, 2-0 to Joyce, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, 3-all, 4-3, with Joyce winning the final set 4-2. Joyce's best set, I'm just flicking through here, was set 5 at 104.86. And for Ryan, it was comfortably set 4 with an outstanding 114.24. Then in the second game of the evening, we had Scott Williams losing to Riccardo Pietrezco of the afternoon, losing to Riccardo Pietrezco 4-1. Scott with a 94.29 average compared to the higher 97 on the dot for Riccardo. 4 180s for Scott, 3 for Riccardo. Doubles very similar, 52% for Riccardo, 50% for Scott. 47 ton plus compared to 39, 20 to 15, 3 to 4 180s. And 140s for Riccardo and Scott respectively. Highest checkout was a 1-2-9 from Riccardo Pietrezco, and he did end the game on a 1-2-1. Lovely checkout. 97 average, as I mentioned, for Riccardo. 13 legs to 8-1 here. So maybe the scoreline does put Williams slightly out of actually what he did play like. I think he's been really good in the World Championships this year. Obviously, he had that really good run last year, but Riccardo did get the better of him. And is he now the only German left in the tournament? I cannot remember. Clemens is out and Schindler's out, so I think he is. Then, in the final game of the afternoon session, it was Nathan Aspinall 4, Andrew Gilding 0. A demolishing here, 92.17 average for Nathan, 86.85 for Gilding, 6 180s to 4. I think at one point they stopped the game to watch someone down like a four pints or something in the audience. I can't remember. Bit weird to stop the game for, but 60% on the checkouts for Nathan, 40% for Gilding, with the highest checkout for Gilding, a 1-2-4, 12 legs to 6-1. So a dominant performance from the Asp. In terms of your highest average, it was a 101.47 in set 3 for Aspinall, and Gilding's highest average was set 2 at 92.67, where he did get that 1-2-4 checkout. Then we move on to the evening session. One of my favourite players and arguably the best throw in the world of darts at the moment, Chris Dobie 4, Josh Rock 2. 9 180s apiece in this game, a high scoring encounter. 97.29 average for Dobie, 95.99 for Rock. In terms of your doubles, 45.16% for Chris, 37.04% for Josh Rock, 96 to 114, so that, in terms of your highest checkout, so Rock with the highest checkout in this one. 14 legs to 10-1, so a good good game overall, really. 24 legs is no mean feat. That's a long time on stage. 53, I say that, it feels like a long time on stage, but overall, it was actually quite a quick game. I mean, the game is played at such a lovely pace. Dobie's throw is just so fluid. Rock, same. I think the way he kind of flicks his fingers, I love it. Two really, really, really nice players, in my opinion, especially to watch. It was a lovely game for the eyes. 53 ton pluses compared to 49, 24 ton 40 plus compared to 20, and 9 180s apiece for Dobie and Rock, respectively. Dobie's best set, just flicking through, was set 6 at 108 on the dot. Rock's highest was also set 8 at 106. Set 6 at 106.18 average. Then we had Michael van Gerwen versus Brendan Dolan. 4-2 was the result in this one in Van Gerwen's favour. 10 180s for Van Gerwen, 6 180s for Dolan, 97.01 average for Van Gerwen, 96.08 for Brendan. There was a lot of times where Van Gerwen, kind of slipped on his darts. And by that, I mean he gave loads of missed doubles and gave Brendan the opportunity to capitalise, which he very often did. 15 legs to 9-1, so a bit of a deficit, but Dolan was capitalising with that a lovely 1-2-3 checkout for him, although the highest checkout of the game was a 1-4-9 from Van Gerwen, the classic treble 20, treble 19, double 16 route, one of my favourite checkouts. In terms of your doubles, 39.47% for Van Gerwen, 42.86 for Dolan, 48 ton plus scores, equally, 22 ton 40 plus for Van Gerwen, 17 for Brendan Dolan, and 10 180s to 6. Van Gerwen's best set was set 4 at 118.66, and Dolan's best set, it's quite close. Should I see which ones? Yeah, just set 2, 100.29. Set 1 was 100.06 for him. That's a really good game. Could have been closer. Van Gerwen did clutch with the double 8 with his last dart in hand. Dolan could have taken it to 2 legs all, I think, which would have taken it. I'm just going to double check if I've got that right. I'm pretty sure I have. Oh, no, it would have gone to Dolan, actually, so it would have been 3-all. But yeah, a lovely, lovely game to watch. Really good for the eyes. Dolan, always good to see him when he's in form. His throw is so fluid. And he actually was grouping his darts really well today. Sometimes for Dolan, they're a bit all over the place, or they're like really close in the treble 20. Really good grouping from Dolan there today. And his scoring did show that. And then the next game, Luke Littler, Luke the NUKE, the 17-year-old, facing Ian White. I think Ian White said in an interview that he used to play Luke Littler's granddad. So how did he deal against the grandson, the 17-year-old sensation? Well, it was a 4-1 win for Luke Littler in this game. Although it wasn't Littler's best performance, he ended his run of 14 consecutive games in all competitions, averaging 100 plus. It was a 98.8 average compared to White's 97.39. 12 180s for Littler, 6 for Ian White as he beats him 4-1. On the checkouts, Littler mentioned around 35%, 37.14% is what my stats telling me, 33.33% for Ian. 114 was the highest checkout from Littler, going the classic treble 20-14 tops route, 13 legs to 8-1, so a much closer game than the scoreline suggests. White kind of, threw everything at Littler there. He couldn't really have done more, in my opinion, and the scoreline doesn't reflect how well White actually played. Looking ahead to tomorrow then, it is Jeffrey de Graaf versus Paolo Nabrida, Kevin Dukes versus Christopher Ratajski. It is Christoph. Almost completely forgot his name then. And then Dimitri Vandenberg versus Callum Ridds. Then Ricky Evans versus Robert Owen. And then we move on to the last 16, where it's Johnny Clayton versus Gerwyn Price in an all-Welsh tie, and Luke Humphreys versus Peter Wright. A great day of darts, and this has been day 11, and I will see you all tomorrow for day 12. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is day 12 of your World Darts Championship recap. We've had 2 really, really high-quality sessions of darts here. Starting off with Jeffrey de Graaf beating Paolo Nabrida 4-1. 8 180s for Jeffrey compared to 2 for Paolo. with an 89.99 average compared to an 83.01 from for the man from the Philippines. In terms of your checkouts, quite equal, 43.33% for Jeffrey, 38.89 for Paolo. 104 was the highest checkout in the game, which came from Jeffrey, with Paolo's being a 91. In terms of your leg one, 13-7, so closer than the scoreline suggests, obviously in match play. But obviously this is set play, that's how life works sometimes. In terms of your best sets for each player, Jeffrey's, it was set free at 95.19, and for Paolo, it was set free at an 89.39 average. In terms of your set by set, it went 1-0 to Paolo, then 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1 for Jeffrey as he moves on to the next round. Then it was a great comeback victory for Kevin Dutz as he beats Christoph Ratajski 4-3. 8 180s for the man from the Netherlands, 2 180s for Christoph, an 89.67 average for Kevin, played a 94.55 from Christoph. In terms of your scoring power, 53-43 ton plus scores for the Polishman and the Dutch respectively, 20 ton 40 pluses to 21 and 2 to 8 180s. In terms of your doubles, it was 48.28% for Kevin compared to 35.14 for Christoph, and the highest checkout of the game, a clutch 170 for Kevin. 14 legs to 13-1 in this one, so at a very, very, very close game. In terms of your set by set, it went 1-0 to Christoph, 2-0 to Christoph, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2 to Christoph, 3-all, and 4-3 to Kevin Dutz. In terms of the next round, that game is being played between Jeffrey de Graaf and Michael van Gerwen. And where's he gone? Yeah, Kevin Dutz faces Chris Dobie. I couldn't get my words out there. In the final game of the afternoon session, it was an absolute demolition of the dancing man from Belgium, Dimitri van den Berg, by Callum Ridds as he won 4-0. 8 180s for Callan in this one, 5 for Dimitri, a 105.31 average for Callan compared to a 94.79 average from Dimitri, which would have won so many games this year. Callan put in some of the performances of the tournament so far. That round was, I can't remember if it was the round 1 or 2 that he played, that kind of 107 average, but Callan is doing really, really well this tournament, and it's going to take a lot to stop him. 12 legs 1-4 in this one, so an absolute demolition job. Doubles as well, Callan a very good performance at 48%, Dimitri 40%. In terms of your set by set, the best one was set 2 for Callan, averaging 119.95. Dimitri's best set was set 2 at 101.26, and the highest checkout of a game, exactly a ton, by Callan. Then it was a vital win for Robert Owen, 4-2 over rapid Ricky Evans, which means that Robert Owen does retain his tour card. He pretty much had it confirmed. Results didn't go his way. He was still on course for losing it. This win does mean he does get his tour card back. He retains it. 92.92 average for Robert, 86.84 for Ricky, 7 180s for Robert, 5 for Ricky in this game. In terms of your doubles, not the greatest doubling performance from both players. 39.47% for Robert, 42.86 for Ricky. 15 legs to 12-1 in this one, so a really high quality game. In terms of your scoring, this is for Owen and Evans respectively. 70-43 ton plus scores, 27-14 ton 40 plus scores, and 7-5 180s. So an incredible scoring game from Owen. Really, really high quality. In terms of your set by set, it went 1-0 to Evans, 1-all, 2-1 to Evans, 2-all, 3-2, 4-2. Then, in the last 16, so the first game of the last 16 round, it was Gerwyn Price beating his Welsh teammate in the World Cup, Johnny Clayton, 4-2. 5 180s for him, 3 for Johnny, a 92.28 average for Gerwyn, faced the 91.73 from Clayton. Clayton had parts where he really did struggle to get going in this one. 13 legs to 10-1, so close game. Highest checkout was a 1-2-4 from Gerwyn, a lovely 1-4-1 as well from Johnny to clinch a set. Johnny's doubles were much better at 45.45% compared to 36.11 for Gerwyn. However, it was, Clayton's doubles, although they were better, he struggled to get down to a double very often, which is why Price was able to capitalise, and Price was capitalising in the important moments, which is what he did against Cullen. In terms of your set-by-set, it went 1-0 to Price, 2-0 to Price, 2-1, 2-all, 3-2, 4-2, and your best set by average for each player was set 2 by Price for an 111.06, and for Clayton it was set 4 at 92. No, it wasn't set 3, sorry, at 100.2. Then in the next game it was Luke Humphries versus Peter Wright, where the reigning world champion cool hand Luke Humphries is out. Peter Wright beats him 4-1 with an 100.93 average compared to Luke's 99.23. 4 180s for cool hand, 5 for snakebite. An incredible doubling performance of 70% for Peter, 56.25% from Luke. So very good doubling from both of them. The highest checkout, a 161 from Luke. But the reigning champion is out. Peter Wright did switch darts. I think he mentioned he switched back in his interview, but 14 legs won for him compared to 9 from Humphries. In terms of where that puts himself in the draw, in the quarterfinals, he will face either Stephen Bunting or Luke Woodhouse. Looking ahead to tomorrow's darts, we have a great couple of sessions. In the afternoon session, it's Kevin Dutz versus Chris Dobey, Robert Owen versus Callum Ridds, and Ricardo Pietrezco versus Nathan Aspinall. And in the evening session, it's Stephen Bunting versus Luke Woodhouse, Michael Van Goen versus Jeffrey de Graaf, and Luke Littler versus Ryan Joyce. This has been day 12. I will see you all tomorrow for day 13. The reigning world champion Luke Humphries is out of this year's World Championships. Ladies and gentlemen, this is day 13 of your World Darts Championship 2025 recap. This is the final podcast of 2024. There is no session of darts tomorrow. Will be the final podcast of the first year of the Darts to Jack podcast. I hope you have all enjoyed it. Next year, we're going to try go bigger and better. There'll be announcements coming soon. Yeah, but let's firstly recap today's darts. Kevin Dutz 3, Chris Dobey 4. Dobey booking himself a spot in the quarter-final with a 91.59 average compared to the lower 88.17 from Dutz. 8 from the Dutchman, as in 8 180s from the Dutchman, 9 for the Englishman. In terms of your scoring power, 61 ton pluses for Dobey, 58 for Kevin, 25 ton 40 pluses for Dobey, 22 for Kevin. And we've already talked about the 180s. Not the best doubling performance from either player. Chris Dobey saying he knows he needs to improve his doubles. 27.42% for Dobey, 30% for Kevin Dutz. With the highest checkout of the game, a 130 from Kevin. Dobey's highest checkout, only a ton. 17 legs to 12 in this one. In terms of your set-by-set, it went 1-0 to Dobey, 1-all, 2-1 to Dobey, 2-all, 3-2 to Dutz, 3-all, and then 4-3 to Dobey, winning 3-1 in the final set. A scrappy 77.52 average in the final set gave Dobey the win in this one. Then it was Robert Owen versus Callum Ridds, a 4-1 win for Ridds. 4-3. 97.3 average for him compared to 94.07 for Robert. 12 180s, double the amount of 180s to Robert, who only hit 6. Stack Attack did do well on his overall scoring though, had 68 ton plus scores compared to Ridds' 52. 30 ton 40 plus scores to Ridds' 27, but 6 180s to 12. So you can see he didn't convert many of his ton pluses and ton 40s, but his overall scoring was strong. Much better doubling performance for Callan, 43.24% compared to Robert Owen's 27.91. A lovely 142 checkout though was the highest by Stack Attack. And it was 16 legs to 12-1, a cracking game. In terms of your set-by-set, it went 1-0 to Owen, 2-1 to Owen, 2-1, 2-all, 3-2 to Ridds, 3-all, and then 4-3 to Ridds, with the final set going 3-1. That final set, though, the doubling was awful, sadly. I mean, that's the only word I can really use to describe it for Owen. 1 out of 12, 8.33% compared to Dobie. Callum Ridds is 50%. Then in the final game of the afternoon session, it was a dominant demolishing of Riccardo Pietrezco by Nathan Aspinall, winning 4-0. The Englishman averaging 94.28 with 6 180s. Pietrezco only averaging 78.46 with 2 180s for him. He was really struggling in the game. 12 legs to 2-1. Pietrezco's highest checkout was a 75%. 75%. I keep getting my stats mixed up today. 75. The highest checkout percentage came from Aspinall at 38.71, with Pietrezco only converting 28.57 of his 7 doubling attempts. Much better scoring performance. 30 ton pluses for Aspinall compared to 18 for Pietrezco. 16 ton 40 pluses to 5 and 6 to 2 180s. Obviously 1, 2, 3, 4 in the sets in this one. Then moving on to the evening session, it was Stephen Bunting 4, Luke Woodhouse 0. 6 180s for Bunting in this one compared to 1 from Woodhouse. Woodhouse not on the form that we saw him in that comeback win against Heta. 96.78 average for the Bullet, 90.61 average for Woodhouse. Pretty much double the percentage. I keep on getting my stats mixed up tonight. 41.38% on the doubles for Stephen, 21.43% for Woodhouse, so almost double. But the highest checkout of the game was Luke Woodhouse's amazing 150 checkout. 12 legs to 3-1, so Woodhouse did pick up a leg more than Pietrezco, but a dominant performance for Stephen in this one. His best set was set 1 at a ton, 0.2. Woodhouse's best set was set 1, at 91.67%. Then we had Michael van Gerwen versus Jeffrey de Graaf, where it was a brilliant game overall, but it was Michael van Gerwen who did come out a 4-2 winner in this one. It went 2-0 to Van Gerwen, Jeffrey de Graaf levelled at 2-all, and then Van Gerwen marched on with a 101.98 average compared to Jeffrey's 91.94. 6 180s apiece in this game. Van Gerwen was throwing some lovely stuff, scoring very equal. 44 ton plus for Van Gerwen, 40 for de Graaf. 17 ton 40 plus for Van Gerwen, 16 for de Graaf, and then 6 180s apiece. Very, very similar. De Graaf's doubles were better at 53.85% compared to Van Gerwen's 46.43%. And a 1-2-6 checkout was the highest in the game from Michael van Gerwen. Then we had the best game of the day, Luke Littler versus Ryan Joyce, where it was a 4-3 victory for the NUKE, averaging 103.14 compared to Joyce's slightly lower average of 97.73. 14 180s for Littler in this one, 7 for Ryan Joyce. Doubles were much better from Joyce. He's known as one of the best finishers in the game. 48.15% for him, finding the doubles at the right moments compared to Littler's 35.42. Highest checkout was a 117 from Joyce. In terms of your scoring, 65 ton plus scores for Joyce, 65 for Littler, 40 ton 40 plus scores for Littler, 23 for Joyce, and 40 180s to 7. It went 1-0 to Littler, 1-all, 2-1 to Littler, 2-all, 3-1 to Littler, 3-all, 4-3 to Luke Littler through to the quarterfinals. There is no darts tomorrow. It is New Year's Eve. I hope you all have a lovely New Year's Eve. I will see you all for the first podcast of 2025, where we do have some brilliant games to bring you. Our quarterfinals: Wright versus Bunting, Littler versus Aspinall, Dobie versus Price, and Van Gerwen versus Ridds. I will see you all in the new year. Have a lovely new year. Goodbye. Welcome all to 2025. Welcome to day 14 of your World Darts Championship 2025 recap. It is quarterfinals day, known as one of the best days on the darting calendar. 2 in the afternoon session, 2 in the evening session. The first game was Chris Dobie 5, Gerwin Price 3. Dobie, after the heartbreak at this stage last year against Rob Cross, 4 sets up, losing 5-4, does redeem himself with a 5-3 victory over the Iceman, averaging 95.38 compared to Price's 92.74. Very good scoring from Dobie. 12 180s for him, 6 for Price. Overall scoring was very, very similar. Apart from that, 24 ton 40 plus scores for Dobie, 25 for Price. 65 ton plus scores for Dobie, 68 for Price. Doubles were so much better from Dobie, 40.82% compared to 26.79% from Price. Price having 7 more darts at the double and obviously converting 5 darts more, less, 20 legs for Dobie in this one, 15 for Price, with an 128 checkout from Price, his best of the game. Looking at the overall kind of set statistics, set 3 was Dobie's best at 113 average, and Price's best was set 4, not set 5. Where'd it gone? There you go. Set 3 with a 104.88 checkout. Dobie missed darts to take the match. Then Price gained another set to take it to 5-3. But then Dobie did win that final set, taking him through to the semi-final. In the second quarter-final, it's Michael van Gerwen 5, Callum Rydz 3. Arguably the game of the tournament so far. Actually, no. Price versus Cullen is and will be the game of the tournament. But this one was a cracker. Both players averaging over 103. Over 8 sets is mental. 103.1 for Van Gerwen. 103.88 for Callum Rydz. 17 180s for the Englishman. 14 for the Dutchman. This game went toe-to-toe. It went 1-0 to Van Gerwen, 1-1, 2-1 to Van Gerwen, 2-2, 3-2 to Van Gerwen, 4-2 to Van Gerwen, 4-3, 5-3. In terms of your statistics, doubles were very, very similar. 44.74% for Van Gerwen, 46.15% for Rydz. The highest checkout was a 154 from Van Gerwen. Rydz's best was the 135. Rydz actually did win kind of the most legs. He won 18 legs. Van Gerwen won 17, but obviously it's set play, so that does not matter. Those two will face off in the semi-finals taking place tomorrow. Then, in the evening session, we had the Bullet, Stephen Bunting, beating Peter Wright 5-2. His son celebrating at the end, Tobias. 95.55%, not 95, that would be an incredible performance. 95.55 average for Bunting, 92.41 for Price. 2 180s for Bunting, only 3 for Wright. So not a high 180s game at all, especially compared to Van Gerwen Rydz. 61 ton plus scores for Bunting, 58 for Peter. 24 ton 40 plus scores for Bunting, 16 for Wright, and 2 to 3 180s respectively. Doubling performance was again very similar. 45.45% for Peter, 43.24% for Stephen Bunting. The highest checkout of the game, a 143 from Bunting, but the 133 from Wright was exceptional. 16 legs to 10-1, a really good performance from Stephen Bunting. In terms of your set by set, it went... hold on, my thing just glitched there. 1-0 to Bunting, 2-0 to Bunting, 3-0 to Bunting, so a really good start. 4-0 to Bunting. Oh my gosh, I thought it only went to 3-0. 3-0, not 4-0. Then it went 3-1, 3-2. 4-1, 4-2, 5-2. I don't know what's happening tonight, guys. Sorry about that. In terms of the best sets for each player, for Peter Wright, his best was set 5 at a 104.86 average. And Stephen Bunting, his best set was when he came out of the block strongly, set 1 at a 105.49 average. Really good game for Bunting. I think if... I really don't know how you would predict it from here. Obviously, I'm still yet to recap the Littler Aspinall game, so I will do my predictions for the rest of the tournament after I recap this game. So, Littler versus Aspinall, which resulted in a 5-2 win for Luke the Nuke, averaging 101.54 in the process with 15 180s. Really good game in the 180s, 11 for the Asp, averaging 96.31. Good performance on the doubles from Littler at 45.24% compared to Aspinall's 35.71. 65 ton plus scores for Littler compared to 54 for the Asps. 33 ton 40 plus scores for Littler, 25 for Nathan. Obviously that 180 count which I talked about earlier. The 105 checkout the highest in the game from Littler. 70 was Asp's highest. But I think the key factor in this game, and they pointed it out, was he had like 10 legs of 12 darts or less, which is mental. The bull, he was ridiculously good. He only missed a couple darts at the bull. Especially to set up, there were so many times where he just used it, set up the double, bang, hit the double. Ridiculously good from him. 19 legs hit one from him. 10 for the Asp. Looking ahead to tomorrow then, it is the semi-finals. I don't know if one's in the afternoon, one's in the evening, I'm not sure. But it's Chris Dobey versus Michael van Gerwen and Stephen Bunting versus Luke Littler. They're really tough to call. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Dobey get the better of Van Gerwen. If Van Gerwen's in his form from today, though, don't know who could stop him. But Dobey, very, very capable. Same in the Littler game. Could go either way. You never want to doubt Littler, but you never want to doubt Stephen Bunting. I think I cannot call it. I don't want to make my predictions. My predictions that I did a video on have already gone out the wall. I predicted a Luke Humphries versus Gary Anderson final, so that certainly wasn't my finest prediction. This was day 14, your quarter finals recap. I will see you all for this penultimate day of the World Darts Championship 2025 action. See you then. Welcome everybody to the penultimate recap of this year's World Darts Championship. We have two semi-finals played tonight, both of them going with the same scoreline. The first one, Michael van Gerwen 6, Chris Dobey 1. Really, really sad for Dobey not to make it through to his first World Darts Championship final. But Van Gerwen was on form, 98.84 average from him with 8 180s. Dobey 94.77 average with 5 180s. In terms of overall scoring, 57 ton plus scores for Van Gerwen, 53 for Dobey. 25 ton 40 plus scores for Van Gerwen, 19 for Dobey. 8 180s for Van Gerwen, 5 for Dobey. In terms of the doubles, they were very, very similar. 42.86% for Mighty Mike. 40% for Hollywood. And the highest checkout of the game was the Big Fish. A 170 checkout from Chris Dobey. Van Gerwen's highest checkout was a 158. 94.77 average again was the average for Dobey. Kind of sticking to his tournament average, not out of the blue there. 18 legs to 10-1 in this one. Looking at the set-by-set statistics, Dobey's best set was set 3, not set 4. Set 3, there it is, sorry, it completely went then. Set 2 at a 102.08 average. Van Gerwen's best set, however, was set 5. Not set 5, it was set 5. Set 4, my stats are messing up today, sorry. Set 7 at a 108.65 average. Wrapping up the game in style. Hunting for his fourth World Darts Championship title. Last one in 2019. Can mighty Michael van Gerwen prove that he can be the best in the world once again? We know that he's got the ability, of course. He's one of the GOATs of World Darts of all time. His opponent will be Luke the Nuke Littler as he beat Stephen Bunting 6-1. Bunting, really, really, really popular player. Obviously got that incredible titanium walk-on. Littler, obviously the youngster, so popular in World Darts at the moment with the 6-1 victory. 13 180s for him. He's on course for a record number of 180s, trying to beat Michael Smith's record. Bunting with 9 180s in this one, so a very good 180 match. 105.48 average from Littler. 10.1 from Stephen Bunting. Other scoring, 77 ton plus scores for Littler, 66 for Bunting. 37 ton 40 plus scores for Littler, 34 for Bunting. Doubles were better from Littler with 44.19% on the doubles for him. Bunting 36.36, so a slightly weaker performance from him. Highest checkout of the game was a 170 from Littler. He also had a 158. However, the most clutch checkout being the 84 on the bullseye. You couldn't have put that dart more in the middle of the bullseye segment. 80 was the highest checkout for Stephen Bunting in this one, as he won 12 legs compared to Littler's 19. So I'd argue it's closer than the set score line conveyed. In terms of your set by set, it went 1-0 to Littler, 2-0 to Littler, 3-0 to Littler, 4-0 to Littler, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1. In terms of each player's highest average, Bunting's was by far set 1 at a 113.35, and Littler's was comfortably set 3 at a 114.18, which included the 158 checkout. Bunting playing well but not taking the opportunities when they were handed to him. Really good to see all the crowd support. They've had 2 brilliant games in that one. Chris Dobie and Stephen Bunting must be proud of their runs. Dobie's first time in the semis, Bunting's second time, the last time being behind closed doors. Now obviously he's got his Bunting army, his kid Tobias supporting him throughout, his family, his wife Keela. Really, really good to see the support behind Bunting. He's such a likeable player. Surely in the Premier League now, it's looking impossible to predict the Premier League lineup, to be honest. So many names being thrown about. Michael Smith now as well, not in a guaranteed spot at all. Real popular player though, so he's got to be considered. Going Price, Damon Heta, Chris Dobie, Stephen Bunting, just to name a few. Dedeker's name's being thrown around. I think he probably would have had to put in a stronger performance in the World Championships to be considered strongly, so I don't know about Dedeker in this one. Tomorrow night is the World Darts Championship final. Luke Littler versus Michael van Gerwen, the 17-year-old facing the 3-time World Darts champion, trying to find his 4th title. Littler obviously in the final last year where he narrowly lost out to Luke Humphries. It's going to be a cracking game. It's on Sky Sports Darts as usual, and I'm assuming Sky Sports main event. This has been the penultimate recap of the World Darts Championship. I hope you have enjoyed them. I will see you all tomorrow for the recap of the final, where I will also be then teasing my announcement, which will be posted the day after the World Darts Championship final. So Saturday will be the announcement for my podcast and also announcing the first guest of the season. I will see you all then. Have a great day tomorrow, and I will see you all for the final. Welcome everyone to the final recap of the World Darts Championship 2025. It is the final night. I am recording my podcast during each kind of break. At the moment, going into the first break, it is 1-0 to Luke Littler in sets, winning that first set 3-1, giving him the kind of advantage, only ever a slight advantage. However, it was Michael van Gerwen's set on the darts. Interesting in that one, there was a lot of loose darts from Littler going into the single 5 when he needed the fat 20 twice. However, he did clear up. 1-0 to Luke Littler in this final versus Michael van Gerwen. Van Gerwen searching for his 4th world title. Littler in his 2nd final in as many years. I will update you at the second break. I am back after not even minutes, and I'm not over-exaggerating that. That was a lightning fast set as Luke Littler goes 2-0 up in the World Darts Championship final. In that set, he averaged 115.62 with Van Gerwen averaging 113.67. 3-0 in that set for Littler. 3 out of 5 on his checkout. An incredible 82 finish, going treble 14 and tops. Van Gerwen missed ball for a 1-2-8. Both are playing well. They definitely played better in that second set. Littler is rattling through. He's got a lot more comfortable in that set. I will see you all during the next break. Okay, it is break number 3. And it is 4-0 to Luke the Nuke Littler. MVG not looking himself up on stage. Just going to go over the stats and stuff from that kind of mini session. And then I've got a talking point that I have to go over. However, my stats, for some reason, have decided not to load. So I will do the talking point first. MVG was sat on 128 with Littler on 170, and Van Gerwen decided to stay on the 20s, not choosing to leave himself a dart at the ball, which under the circumstances when Littler was 3-0 up at this point, not giving himself the chance at the ball seems silly. Littler went treble 20, and missed the bullseye, going in the 25 to leave himself 25. Van Gerwen then doesn't convert. The chance doesn't pay off for him. Why doesn't he give himself a dart at ball there? It seems absolutely ridiculous under the circumstances, and Littler capitalises with the double 10. As well in that set, we saw, was it in that set or the set before? Where it was where Littler went bull double 10. He loves that double 10. He'll go outrageous routes to give himself the chances at it. But Luke Littler currently averaging 98.18. And MVG 95.16. MVG is scoring better, but his doubles are absolutely atrocious. 17.65% is not what MVG is capable of. Littler 48% on the doubles, so an absolute demolition job on the doubles. Luke Littler, guys, is 4-0 up at this point. This is the third break. Littler is 4-0 up. And at this next break, Michael Van Gerwen gets his first set on the board. It is still 4-1 to Luke the Nuke Littler, but MVG wrapping up the fifth set with a 1-3-2 checkout, 25 treble 19 bullseye, as he gets his first set back. In that set, he averaged 100 exactly. Littler averaged 107.47 with a ridiculous 130 checkout. But MVG does take this set, and after the fourth kind of session, it is 4-1 to Luke the Nuke Littler. So, in that little session, it was 1 set for Littler, 1 set for Van Gerwen. The score is 5-2. Some shaky stuff in there from Littler more than Van Gerwen. Van Gerwen definitely stepped it up in that last set, averaging 108, and in the set before 98. Littler averaging 110 in the set that he won and 103 in the set that he lost. So Littler is losing the set better, if you get what I mean. Higher averages. As we're at a very good point in the match, it'll be good to recap some stats. 11 180s apiece so far, 54.55% on the doubles for Littler, 31.43% for Van Gerwen. So he has stepped up his game. The highest checkout of the match, the 1-3-2 from Michael Van Gerwen to get his first set. 18 legs to 11-1 at the moment. At this period of time, it is 5-2 to Littler. Van Gerwen's 5 sets away. Littler is only 2. Being honest with you guys, I didn't realise there would be this many breaks, but it is a whitewash set for Luke the Nuke Littler. He is 6-2 up, and he goes 1 set away from the World Dart Championship. His performance has been great. Overall, he's now averaging just under 103. In that set, averaged 112.73. Van Gerwen played very incredibly. 108.92 in that set. 3-0. That was a whitewash set. 75% on the doubles. 3 out of 4, with a 64 highest checkout. Didn't even hit a 180 in that set. It was Van Gerwen who hit the 180 in that set. Littler is 1 set away. And Luke the Nuke Littler is the 2025 World Dart Champion, beating Michael Van Gerwen 7-3, averaging 102.73, a fitting end to what has been an incredible debut season for the 17-year-old. Almost finished it off on bull double 16, but he wrapped up double 16 in the next visit, and the 17-year-old is the World Dart Champion. I'm going to do a deeper analysis of the final in my podcast, which is coming on Sunday, so keep an eye out for that. I hope you guys have enjoyed these kind of recaps. It's taken effort to produce them every single day, but I hope you have enjoyed them. Thank you so much for tuning in. Luke Littler, the 17-year-old, is your World Dart Champion.